Welcome to Otakin with Dave, coming to you from his palatial fortress in Sin City, where what happens in Vegas is talked about everywhere. Put your hands together for the pastor of positivity whose glass is always at least half full. Here's Dave.
Hey, how we doing out there? How y'all doing? I hope you're doing great. I hope you're doing fantastic. I am doing well myself. And we got a topic today that I'm a little uncomfortable. However, I think it's necessary to talk about this. I'm talking, and I'm not being sexist, or if you think this is sexist, wait till the next one. I got one coming that is going to be controversial. But it's about emotion, especially men showing emotion. That's why it's called Boys Don't Cry. Boys don't cry. And that phrase didn't just come from nowhere. That is history and legacy. It was forged in the fields or factories or foxholes or family tables when the men were expected to carry the weight quietly. Crying was, I don't know, it wasn't forbidden necessarily. It was just not looked nicely upon. It was frowned upon because it was weak. It was discouraged because it didn't stop. Things didn't stop, so why cry about it? Don't cry over spilt milk. There's just so many things. There's no crying in baseball. Of course, that was toward a lady. But it was, if you're a man 100 years ago, emotion, that was a luxury. That was for people who had everything. It wasn't for people that were struggling to get by, which you would think would have been the opposite. Back then, you worked, you provided, you endured. You buried friends and family. Back then, the mortality rate, you lost children. You survived your children. You survived wars and depression. You didn't have time for feelings. You packed them away and kept moving. That wasn't toxic masculinity. Screw toxic masculinity. That was survival masculinity. The world has changed a bit, but have the rules? I don't know. I remember the first time I really cried. I'm sure I cried as a kid, just a spoiled brat, or somebody took something from me, or I didn't get my way. But that's not really crying. That's just being a spoiled brat. I remember the first time I saw Where the Red Fern Grows. Oh, sobbing. Who does that? And then they hit you with Old Yeller. Give me a break. I remember we were watching Old Yeller one time, and I didn't want to cry. I didn't want to cry. But I looked over at Dad, and Dad was crying, so I thought, okay, let her rip. I remember Brian's song. Remember that movie? Brian Piccolo and Gail Sayers and Brian, who was it? Oh, I just had a brain fart. Who played Brian Piccolo? Same guy that played Sonny. James Caan. And that was on the weekend, and I go in, I was in the second grade, I remember it. I go in talking about this, and then somebody had seen the movie, and I said, man, that upset me. And I said, and that was a true story. And this little girl named Michelle, who I had a bit of a crush on, said, no, it wasn't true. I saw that guy on Hollywood Squares. It was true. So that's the first time I really showed outward feelings and emotions to whoever was around. You can't hold that back, man. Dogs and football players and But that's the first time I really remember showing it. But years ago, early generations, men were valued for their endurance, their toughness. Emotion stayed private because responsibility was public. And it was an image plus it did show weakness. That's in way long time ago. Then mid-century, men were just stoic. They were providers. Feelings were managed, not discussed. You didn't show your feelings, and you sure didn't talk about them. And then in the late 20th century, emotion began to surface a bit. But it's still awkward. Men were told to open up on your feelings a little bit, but nobody taught them how. Now, what does that mean? Open up on your feelings when you've been holding it back for so long? Now, men are encouraged to feel. Please. They're often shamed if they don't show emotion or if they don't do it correctly. The metrosexual and all the other, you're hailed for being in touch with your feelings. So it's crazy. Yeah. But how many men are somewhere caught in the middle? They want that connection. They want to do what they need to do, but they don't know what's right. Screw what's right. I think we worry about that too much. I love feelings. I think you can be strong and still show your feelings, but a lot they're unsure of how to show emotion without feeling exposed or diminished or misunderstood. This is not a sob story here. It's a skill gap. It's a skill gap. Some people want to, but they don't know how, and they don't want to do it wrong because those old stereotypes come back. So one thing I want to do here, I just want to get something straight. Sharing emotion does not mean you're crying all the time. You're oversharing with everyone, or you're just collapsing instead of leading. Or you don't have a backbone anymore. And not sharing emotion, that doesn't mean you're strong. Yeah. It doesn't mean you're necessarily disciplined, and it doesn't mean you've got all this under control. So one way or another. Yet most men now aren't afraid to show some type of emotion. But they're afraid of what happens after they do. I can tell you, just for experience, there are times as an adult that my emotions surprised me. I remember I had a great team in the South. I'd already been to California. I came back, had a great team. I was very close to that team. And I had announced that I'm moving back to California. That was going to be like a 2-month process. We were in the middle of a meeting. And I was about to close, or toward the end of the meeting, I was about to close the meeting, and it hit me. This is the last time this group's going to be together. Some may retire, some may get promoted, some may do something else. But when I leave, they're going to get a replacement, and we'll never be right here, right now, in this situation again. And it hit me. And I was telling them how much they meant to me, and how our success has put food on my table. It's helped take care of my kids, and that I would never forget them, and how grateful I was for them. But I was emotional. I had to pause, and I was blubbering a bit. And there were guys in the room who, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to get emotional. And they would look down, or they would look away. They would look anywhere but at me. And then there were a couple that just looked at me with tears streaming down their cheeks. Grown-ass men. And afterwards, I know one in particular came up and just gave me a bear hug. And whispered something very encouraging in my ear. But it snuck up on me. And I guess I was a little embarrassed, but then they came up and they reassured me, never apologize for your tears. It was good because it was heartfelt. I tell you, there's a bunch of people who have, not so much men, but they use their tears to try to influence you. I have a really soft spot for any lady crying. It breaks my heart, and I don't want that. I don't know. Maybe the Southern gentleman in me, I don't know, but it's always bothered me. But if you're trying to manipulate me with your tears, I will tell you, and I know 2 ladies right now, if you're listening, I said, dry it up. Dry it up. This is business. It's not personal. And they did, and they did well. But a lot of times it sneaks up on you. And so I think we need to get straight. There are some things that are worth a man's tears. And I don't pretend to know everything. I'm going to tell you some personal stuff here in a minute, but I don't pretend to know all of this because I'm still learning myself. This year I've been more emotional than ever. and the gambit of emotions, happiness, sadness, grief, loss, all of it. And I find, I'm not jumping to the end here, but I find that when the emotion is shared, the necessary emotion is shared, there's a cleansing. And tears don't mean you're sad necessarily. It doesn't mean everything's wrong. It doesn't mean I'm out of control. And I've learned that. That's one of the reasons I want to share it. And some people have hit me up saying, I wanted to do this, but I got emotional and I just messed it up. Nah, maybe you didn't. But I think, let me bring up 5 events that I believe are truly worth a man's tears. And you can substitute woman too. I don't think it has the same bite as a man's tears. Not everything deserves tears. Some things absolutely do. So let me run down 5. 1, it's a loss, a death, a divorce, estrangement. I don't understand that, but it's out there. I've witnessed it this year, very personal. Maybe the end of a chapter that mattered. I've been on all of those, except in estrangement. I don't know how to deal with that. I don't let that happen no matter what. We can do a whole course on that. I've had all of those things happen this year and over the years. I think that's not only worth your tears. I think something's wrong if you don't give it your tears. Also think pride in others. I'm so proud of my kids. You know, when someone you love does well or is there for you or they accomplish something, I've been there. That's worth your tears for sure. Maybe even relief. Whew. Fighting the fight, getting through it. That when the burden finally lifts a bit, when survival turns into, I can breathe again. Been there. Those are happy tears. Happy tears. And sometimes when you have to face the truth, it's a reckoning. You see the cost. I messed up. Okay. And you understand it and you seize that lesson. And hopefully you choose a better path and that doesn't happen again. But I get that. Mistakes, they hurt. Especially as a man. Not especially as a man, but the tears for a man are tougher. At no point do I want to belittle a woman's tears. Oh, no. I may say that disclaimer several times. But that reckoning with, especially if you make decisions or mess up and it hurts others, especially the people you love. It's tough. That deserves your tears. And then just the overwhelming gratitude or love. Moments they fill you so much it spills over. And it's not sadness. If you look at it, there's 3 out of the 5. It's not defeat and sadness and tragedy. No. Sometimes it's just reverence. And that's where I am now. The gratitude. I am so grateful for so many friends and their relationships. I may be a mess by the end of this O-Talk, but it's important. And those times, never apologize for your tears, especially in those occasions. I could probably list 10 more, but those are general ones that really encompass it. And I've had all of that this year. I'm more emotional, and I love it. I love it. But what are some things that might not be worth your tears? They're not worth your tears. Come on, let's go back to the old. Let's go back to that manly phase, but update it to now. It matters because there's some clarity. Then clarity will protect your dignity. Things that aren't worth your tears, a bruised ego. I look stupid. They're better than me. We lost this. Or my ego, my standing. That's not worth tears. That's worth redirection and drive and resolve. You lose an argument. That goes back to ego, but it's also improve your argument. You may not get another chance, but come on, that's an opportunity for improvement. Or jealousy or envy. That's petty. That doesn't deserve your tears. That goes back to me being a spoiled brat that I talked about. Drama, manufactured drama. Let's let this play out. Many times, someone has had some drama and people were about to make real decisions that may not have been able to be altered, and they're getting upset. You wait just a little while and you find out that's manufactured drama. It's not even real. It's not worth your tears. And then I'll even say this, self-pity. If you're not taking responsibility and you're just feeling sorry for yourself, you're having yourself a little pity party. It's not worth your tears. It's worth looking at reality and determining what the next steps are. Not setting blame or any of that. So those aren't worth your tears. Save your tears for the things that really matter. Tears are not for a performance. Tears should be for the truth, true feelings. Otherwise, just suck it up, buttercup, because tears matter. Don't waste tears. It hurts me to see somebody cry, and I want to understand why, and I want to help. But understand that tears aren't weakness leaking out of you. I'm leaking. Go back to the Grinch. Tears are not weakness leaking out of you. They're pressure being released. How much better do you feel after a good cry? You do. It's a cleansing. There are studies around it. It is a cleansing, and it's pressure being released. Tears help. They help clear emotional fog. I did that this week. I threw some things away I've been holding on to, emotionally and physically. And it was rough. But it helped clear that emotional fog because I was holding on to something that didn't exist anymore. And it's also a good marker for a transition. It doesn't mean you cry it out and you'll never cry about it again, but okay, this is me dealing with it. It marks a transition from one thing to another. And where we talk about it being a cleansing or releasing stress, it's probably been something that's been some tension that's been stored up for a while. You can feel it. That's what people, and I go back to, it's not weakness leaking out, and it's not meant to be a performance. I know people who cry all the time, and sincerely, and they love to watch romantic comedies. They love to, more women than men, honestly. But sometimes, my goodness, I was on a plane the other day, and one row up, middle seat, was watching The Notebook, and it got to that one part, and I knew what part it was, and man, I'm excuse me. It's a sound. I couldn't even hear the sound. Somebody see me, man, this guy's really upset about the turbulence or something. But it releases stored tension many times. The good thing about it is, and this is what happens with me, I've noticed, it resets perspective. All right, okay. Yeah, and I'm a good rebounder and I'm a good counterpuncher, but I can rally. Well, sometimes a good cry helps me do that or to deal with that emotion so it's not stored up. And it marks that transition and the fog is cleared, all those things. And it allows me to move forward. A man who never cries, that doesn't mean they're unbreakable. It rarely means they're unbreakable. It means they're locked up. They're locked up. I think tears also are a compliment. They're a compliment. And here's what I mean. Sometimes we don't have the words to express it. Words can't do it. I'm a word guy. Not that I'm always grammatically correct. When a man shares real emotion with you, it's not a burden. It's a compliment. And I've realized that because I've kept a stiff upper lip many times. I'll say a man, but I'll just make it very personal. If I share my tears with you, it means I trust you. I trust you. It means you're safe with me because I trust you, and I feel safe with you. It means you matter to me. You do. Oh, my goodness. And you're being invited into sacred ground as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. I'm showing you something that I don't take lightly. And I could suck it up. I could. I don't know if I can now, but I used to be able to do it. I was really good at it. Because men don't hand out vulnerability casually. And there are a few things more vulnerable than to see a man cry openly. Because it is. You're trusted. You're safe. You matter. This is sacred ground. And I'm showing you something that I don't take lightly. And when I show vulnerability, it's intentional. Sometimes it creeps up on me, but now I share it. I'll tell you this, I never cried in front of my kids until this year. Never did. And they are 35 and 33. Yeah. Not when my mom died. Not when my dad died. But when I needed them most, I showed them that I was vulnerable. And I did it with my tears. Yep. And it showed them all those things I just said. I love you. I trust you. You matter. This is me. I need your help. Thank you so much. My tears said what they knew, but they said it in a way that I never could have. You can ask them. Yeah. So, let's talk about it. What are some steps for manly men to share emotion without giving up their manhood? Whoever still believes that. And there are a lot that do. I believe it less than I used to, but hey, it's still there. And this is the practical part. Now, how do we do this? How can we? Nobody wants to be full of emotion and a blubbering mess. So how can we do it and still keep our manhood? First thing, I think you choose the right audience. Not everyone deserves it. Share it with people who've earned your trust. I had a moment with a dear friend. We were talking and they got emotional and I got emotional. Next thing we're sitting crisscross applesauce blubbering in my kitchen floor. And we looked at each other and said, I'll never forget this moment. I will never forget this moment. Because we let each other in. One-on-one. That was the right audience. And they deserved it because they earned my trust. So choose the right audience. Also name the emotion. Don't dramatize it. I'm angry. I'm pissed. I'm grieving. I'm just overwhelmed. There's so much. I can't take it all. That clearness of the why takes care of the drama. I just feel so sorry for myself. Okay, that's not it. Yeah, I'm scared. I'm afraid. All of that. Name it. Name the emotion. Because things you name, you can overcome. It reduces the fear. We've talked about that. So another way, separate emotion from decision making. Feel it fully, but decide calmly. Strength is that integration right there, not denial. Okay, part of this is emotional and part of it is decision making. I'm not going to let one affect the other, but I'm going to feel it fully and then I'm going to make the decision. That's important. That's very important. And then keep dignity. Keep the dignity in posture and presence. Emotion, it doesn't require your collapse to the floor. You can feel deeply and remain grounded. That's the way that manhood. There are things that you can do, but keep that dignity in your posture and your presence. There are times I know no one would fault you, but that's a way to do that, show emotion without giving up manhood. And then I think one of the keys is the follow-up. Let emotion lead to action, not withdrawal or stagnation or collapse. Let that emotion lead to action. Tears should move you forward, not trap you. All those things they do for you, that cleansing, that transition, that moves you forward and lets you get past it. It may be several sets of tears, but that's the way to do it. None of these are losing manhood, guys. It's owning it. It takes a real man to do some of this stuff. It's owning it. It's not getting rid of it. So just some things that I've observed about my own, about my dad, about some men I respect. Then just a few things I've observed about men's tears in my life. They're rare. They're rare. But that makes them meaningful. If it happened all the time, it's supply and demand. They're rare. This is a moment. This is special. And it doesn't always have to be bad. Another thing, they usually come after some endurance, after some toughness, after some boldness. They come after, not before. The battle, what we talked about earlier. Win or lose, they come after endurance. Also, I've noticed they mark a transition, not necessarily a defeat. And the transition can be to more endurance, more responsibility. It can be a victory. It can be joy. It doesn't have to come from defeat. It's a transition, though. Also, they deepen the connection rather than weaken authority. Oh, how I believe. As a leader, as a sales leader, as a whatever you want to call me, I don't hold back. Many times there are many topics where I'll put Kleenex on the tables. Because as we look at things and talk about things like regret and starting over and transitioning through parts of our life, people get upset. And I'm telling you, it's not the mousy lady in the corner who cries at Super Bowl commercials. It's the big burly guy in the back that nobody expected. And that deepens the connection with the group rather than weakening the authority. Over and over. And then, again, what we said earlier, a man's tears, they restore clarity and resolve and peace. Yeah. So there's joy in a man's tears. This is the part that people miss. The joy in a man's tears, it's honest. It's a release. There's a joy in no longer pretending. There's a joy in being seen and still standing. I made it. I'm still here. I'm on my way. I need your help. Tears don't take away strength. Not at all. They return it. Actually, they return it refined and much more pure because it's a compliment. Yeah. So maybe Big Boys Don't Cry was never about strength or being macho or that dad trying to toughen up his boy or whatever. Yeah, it's not about strength. It was about silence. And so there was a time for silence. There is a time for silence. But today, I believe that strength looks like feeling without the fear. I'm not afraid to cry. I've cried a couple of times just now. It's about sharing without collapsing. Sometimes that sharing, I'm going through this. You don't know what people are going through. And you sharing it lets them in because they need to share too. Sharing without collapsing. And then I love it that I can stand tall and I can show my emotions without collapsing and be honest at the same time. I messed up. I've endured. We won. I couldn't do it without you. I love you. You're important to me. And if that causes me to cry, so be it. I'll stand here and cry. It's not weakness. It's being real. A good man doesn't cry because he's weak. He cries because he's real and he's feeling it and he's letting you in on it. And real men don't lose their power when they feel. They finally are using their power well and honestly. So this has been a different kind of O-Talk, but I think it's necessary. I am loving life. I'm happier in showing it. My tears aren't out of sadness. It may be out of loss or out of a different path or something I didn't choose I'm concerned about who it did impact. That's not me. However, all my emotion, from joy and laughing and whatever, to sadness or tears, the joy will bring just as many tears as the sadness. And I look forward to sharing that with the people that are important to me, the people that I love. Yeah, because that's what it shows. So thank you so much for enduring this and enduring some tears. I snuffed back a little bit. Hit me up, David@otalks.com, David@otalks.com. Just go to otalks.com. There's so much there. And then let me know. How do you feel? Was this vulnerability good? Is it like Dave, get back to your booger jokes? That's what we come here for. Trust me, no one ever cried over a booger joke unless it was. Yeah. So thanks so much. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging on. But most of all, thanks for O-Talking with Dave. Giddy up.